BMW race in order to improve the performance of their road cars, establish the sporting image of the BMW car. BMW offers for its sales the sporting aspect. I don't know if this sounds noisy to you, but there's a hell of a row going on here.
At BMW, the same engineers who are working on the racing engines are also working on the production engines. And for example, the racing engineers, they are always under a heavy time pressure. So the engineers have really to work flat out, and they have to have unique ideas to come very fast to a good result. The result has to be more power, and they can handle their normal engineering problems for the production much easier. And I think that's the main difference between a company like BMW and a company who goes racing only for PR reasons and hasn't got the technical high standard in their normal production cars.
BMW personnel from the board downwards are not just motor car manufacturers, they are enthusiasts.
They all like driving cars. They don't like to be transported from one place to the other. They all have fun to drive cars.
If you have an executive who likes to ride as a passenger on the rear seat of a limousine, he will try to build a vehicle which is meant for this purpose. If you have a man who loves driving, he will have engineered and produced a car which is especially for the driver. I think that a company which builds motorcycles and cars will certainly have a certain influence from the particular behavior of motorcycles on the behavior of the cars. These cars will be quicker.
The board of directors, of course, has to be enthusiastic about the car too. All our directors drive our cars themselves for long distance and are our most expensive test drivers.
Very few, if any, other manufacturer in the world today who produces what is basically a standard-looking sedan car with the performance and handling I ran BMWs on the road for many, many years before I became actively involved with them. And this was the very reason. I wanted a car that I could drive on the street that didn't attract undue attention from the forces of law and order. I wanted a car I could take the family in, but I wanted a car that had a high performance at the same time. The finest road-going sedan for family use that is also has the performance or greater performance than very many sports cars.
engine is the life of the car. The driver feels the power and the smoothness and every characteristic of the engine. If he is fond of driving, he is very fond to have a good engine. It's therefore very important that the designer of the engine is a good driver himself and feels what is wanted from the engine. When I got the order to design this engine, nobody thought about racing. But to tell the truth, I did. Therefore, I designed the engine so strong and so effective that it really could be used for racing later on. And for production, this engine was also good because it was very strong and had a long life in normal street use. It was therefore a very modern engine with overhead camshaft, V-wheels and 5-bearing crankshaft. At that time, these things were only used for a racing engine and nobody had it in production.
BMW, the Bavarian Motor Works in Munich, has a very old tradition in producing engines, especially engines for aircrafts, engines for motorcycles and engines for motor cars. The heart of our product, our engine is the heart of our motor car.
Nichts ist so gut, als dass man es nicht noch besser machen kann. Which means in English, nothing is that good that one could not make it better.
The smoothness of the engine depends on many things, on the mechanical parts, on the combustion chamber shape, on the fuel injection. And here we are testing now a new combustion chamber for the 1978 model. The difference in the combustion chamber is a new form for better exhaust emission and better fuel economy.
This is our racing coupe here. We entered it at the 24 hours at Le Mans and also at the 6-hour race at Silverstone. This car has got a normal 6-cylinder engine, which is used in the, for example, in the 633 coupe, but of course it's modified quite a lot. This engine is turbocharged and it's producing about 800 horsepower. By the way, BMW was a company, the first one I think, which did build a turbocharged engine in production in the 2002. And of course we are learning from this and we are developing this engine in racing and we are proving it. And the same engineers which are working on this engine are responsible for production engines as well. This shows that we get a lot of experience out of racing which we use in production as well.
It has a big influence on the spirit of the company too. All workers and engineers are very fond of their work and they are proud of successes in racing.
In my very early races in the beginning, I was driving so sideways because I really want to be very quick that people used to say when I came in for a pit stop, the mechanics, they didn't have to clean the windshield, they only had to clean the doors because all the dirt and the bugs were on the side because of my sideways driving. So they said, this guy is really crazy, he's ruining all the tires, the suspensions, and he's running over the curbs, and they don't want to have me as a racing driver. But then finally, I convinced them by my way of driving, and it worked out quite good.
I was born in Munich, and when I was a boy, I became very interested in motorcycles and cars. And there was one famous motor company in Munich that was Bayerische Motorenwerke. Of course, I was very interested in it, and I often took my cycle and went out to the factory that was at that time far out of the city and had a look at the works and at motorcycles. Erinnerst du dich noch, George, vor über 40 Jahren waren wir hier und haben...
40 years ago, we were here to test our engines for the 6-day race.
Ja, das war gleich auf der anderen Seite, kann ich mir erinnern.
Yes, right over there. My first race was Hockenheim in 1937.
37 in Hockenheim.
Ja, ja.
And then you went to the European Championships.
That was 1938.
And then there was your big success in the Tourist Trophy.
My friend said I only won the tourist trophy because my brakes didn't work.
You really were an expert in the BMW.
I was expert because I wouldn't drive anything else, that's why.
That's why BMW hired you. You beat everybody. You were a terrific go-getter.
Yes, I was a mad dog.
What attracts most people at BMWs is, number one, the obvious. The image we have as a young, dynamic company with an equally young and dynamic product.
And for me, this factory, BMW, with its famous motorcycles, was some kind of an aim, some kind of encouragement to learn at school, to become an engineer even. And so I think it's almost a dream come true, without telling our board that they should think it wouldn't be necessary to pay me too much money.
I think the reason for the big success of our company is that our people, the people who are working for us, are dedicated to their task, dedicated to the targets we have set.
This company is growing, thus offering good career possibilities for the man that wants to work.
I've been with BMW for 20 years, first as a turner and then with the apprenticeship program.
I've found that the apprenticeships here are very good and are valued by other companies too. I've been thinking that after my apprenticeship and my military service, which I have to do, I might look around at other companies to see what they're doing. And then I'll think about coming back to BMW for more training here.
It's my job to see that guys like you become good, skilled workers with a sense of responsibility who like their work.
BMW is a very small company, but therefore they can have the best people all over the world to work with them. They're also having people that worked before at other companies like Porsche or Mercedes. They have real specialists. They have the cream of them all.
I think Munich is one of the greatest places in the world. Everybody who is creative likes to come here and possibly stay here. I think to be able to build a new car, to design it, you've got to be creative. And Munich is just the right kind of environment for that.
Because the people at BMW, being perhaps Bavarians, most of them, there's illustration in their progressive outlook on the cars, but also they're real characters in their own right.
Yeah, you know, I'm a